I am Shanti Penelopey Lori. I live in Shoreham by Sea on the west coast of the UK, and I am a somatic sex educator, a sexological bodyworker, and just a sexologist. I met dear Julian on the 2022 Somatic Sex Educator training, and we were together in Portugal for the Module 2 in person. And as part of that, we were on the teacher team, and dear Julian taught about scar tissue and fascia and touch skills. So he was holding space and teaching the whole group there, and I remember it well. What inspired me to take this training? It really feels more in my body. My body knew this was what I wanted to do. And if I could put that into words, I would say it's because it's the greatest opportunity to come back and inhabit our physical body when we are prioritizing pleasure, aliveness, and connection with self. And what I absolutely loved about the training was we had the opportunity to go deep on our own journeys and understand our conditioning and release a lot of shame and debunk these stories and myths around sexuality and embodiment. And I found it incredibly empowering, and that I returned to my body and returned to pleasure and joy and aliveness and orgasmicity and wonder. So it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. So I qualified and became a somatic sex educator in 2022. And since then, I have my own practice and I work as a private sexological bodyworker. And I'm so passionate about this work because people often come because there's some issue that they can't, they need support with. And actually including our sexuality and our genitals and being able to speak openly in shame-free spaces about pleasure, intimacy, eros, eroticism, and sexuality often unlocks biggest blocks that people have in their life. And so I'm so passionate about this work because I witness literally life-changing experiences and deep transformational processes in a few hours in clients. I work mostly in person and I hold sessions here in my home. And I'm so passionate about it because it's lifelong changes. And most of all, people, you can just see in people's faces that they're back in their bodies and they remember who they are. So it's an incredible modality to be involved in. What I would say, if you've landed on this page and you're curious about this training, what first of all is coming to mind when I began my training was that I thought, why on earth am I only learning this now? You know, every young person, this should be part of the normal sex education. I felt like I was learning what I always needed to learn, and actual all about the body. So if you're interested in understanding your own relationship with your own body, healing, if you want to heal, especially around sexuality and body image and relationship with others. If you notice there are reoccurring patterns or blocks, I really encourage you to do this training yourself, because then you have the language and the tools to be able to facilitate and teach and support others on their own journeys, where basically we're returning to our bodies, returning to our aliveness, returning to our pleasure, returning to intimacy. So really encouraging you to say yes to this training if it feels aligned for you. What I would say about dear Julian as a practitioner, obviously we work together as peers. I felt he's very approachable and trustworthy. He has high integrity, is always open to reflect, non-judgmental. There's a real sense of safety, I would say, in working with him. So in a leadership position, I would really recommend this practitioner because he has high moral values as a person. I would also add that he's extremely knowledgeable. Sometimes I have to really concentrate to keep up. Dear Julian is incredibly knowledgeable around somatic education and anatomy and practices, and his language and ability to articulate and guide and teach is profound. So he has incredible skills there. Also working together as a team, I remember feeling a real sense of cohesion and togetherness on the team. Beautiful memories with dear Julian, so would highly recommend him as a teacher, guide, and practitioner. Anyone feeling to sign up for this, I would emphasize, and I always remember someone saying the same thing to me when I signed up, to make sure that you have plenty of time set aside so you can be fully committed and resourced, and you have plenty of capacity to focus on the training, because it really is, it's like a life commitment when you're on this training, and it's rigorous. And depending what a perfectionist, if you're a perfectionist like me, I can be, there's a lot of work to do. So, you need to keep up as well with the group. So highly recommend that you've set time aside for that. And then some of the modules that I remember that were really supportive for me now as a practitioner is coaching. We really found, and we were supported to adapt our practice to being in person and online, even though most of my sexological bodywork is in person, but I do also feel confident holding online work. And what is a huge part of my own practice is the consent. So Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent was really helpful, and the clean language and the body poem. And that's such a beautiful landscape to support people to start to have the language to express what's going on in their body. So I really feel this is a beautiful bridge. And then being given feedback constantly to really refine our practice. And some of the feedback that I received from my coach, my then coach, I really remember now, and it's the structure of the sessions. And I found that really helpful. So to have a clear structure and to be boundaried around the time of the sessions, because it's such expansive work and it really needs containment. It's really informed my practice so I can be, have high integrity as a practitioner. Something else that's coming to mind that I really valued about the course was the non-judgmental approach and the guidelines and the group agreements that were at the beginning. So we were all on the same page, coming with a lens of innocence and curiosity and a beginner's mind. I remember this being so helpful because there was a lot that was challenging, at least some of my own conditioning and my ideas that I thought were true at the time, which I've learned since weren't. So I really valued how the course was set up with the group agreements at the beginning. And something else that's coming to mind is how we were led and supported with our learning edges, because everyone has learning edges with this. And there was a real sense of normalizing the learning edges and bringing in, again, a non-judgmental, shame-free environment where we could find our resilient edge of resistance, is one of the terms I remember, and work with our learning edges in a safe way so we could expand our understanding of ourselves and our capacity to teach others. And the last thing that's just coming now as I'm sharing is often the areas that we find challenging ourselves or the learning edges, that's where the gold is. So the areas I've worked particularly in myself and the challenges I've overcome, these have been the specific areas that I've really been able to support my clients, because I have my own lived experience and understanding of working with these specific themes. So these are some of the points that I'd love to share that the course entails.